The Jersey Devil coaster at Six Flags Great Adventure opened this past weekend as the world's tallest, fastest, and longest single-rail coaster. This Rocky Mountain construction creation is a larger evolution of the original Raptors, but is it superior? Find out in this review of the Jersey Devil coaster. Back in 2015 when RMC unveiled the Raptor model, they probably never imagined this coaster ending up at a park as large as Great Adventure. At the 2015 IAAPA trade show, Rocky Mountain Construction unveiled two single-rail coasters. The Raptor was the smaller, more budget-friendly option. This coaster would have one of the narrowest track gauges in the world, featuring one across seating. RMC envisioned this product going to smaller parks, pressed for both budget and space. However, the original two Raptors went to two sizable chain parks in Six Flags Fiesta Texas and California's Great America. The T-Rex was the larger option, envisioned for larger parks. Utilizing the same building principles as the Raptor, RMC believed this coaster would be an economical way to build a large-scale coaster. But RMC has shelved the T-Rex track at this time. The rumor is that it was not economically viable based on the expressed interest of parks. Wonder Woman Golden Lasso coaster was the first RMC Raptor to open in May of 2018. Many, including myself, have praised this coaster for its violent airtime and absolutely relentless pacing. The prototype did have minor issues and poor capacity, but Wonder Woman was a crowd pleaser, and Six Flags was satisfied with their purchase. Enthusiasts began speculating which park would receive a Raptor next. Popular candidates were Six Flags America and Six Flags St. Louis because they were two of the less busy Six Flags parks and could handle the capacity. But in 2019, Six Flags announced that they would be adding a Raptor to their second most attended park in Six Flags Great Adventure. It seemed like an odd decision, but RMC further improved the ride's capacity, and the ride type is a fit at this park. For one, there were no single-rail coasters in the Northeast. 2. Great Adventure was one of the few large parks in the chain not to have an RMC. Six Flags has had a fruitful relationship with Rocky Mountain Construction over the past decade. Six Flags has been RMC's #1 customer. Not only did Six Flags purchase the prototype Raptor, but they also purchased one of their wood coasters and several steel iBox coasters. As one Six Flags park after another received an RMC creation over the past decade, the only coaster that went to Great Adventure was Joker, an S&S free spin clone. But in August of 2019, it was announced that Great Adventure would finally receive their RMC in the Jersey Devil. The coaster was originally supposed to open in 2020, but the ride was delayed a year until 2021 as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. But over the past 2 years, hype has grown for the attraction. On paper, the layout looked incredible. Jersey Devil would stand 130 feet or 40 meters tall, feature roughly 50% more track than the original Raptors, and combine 3 inversions with a series of airtime hills. What more could a coaster enthusiast want? And as the bright orange track was assembled, enthusiasts drooled over the profiling. The ride was an extremely narrow mess of elements, and the ride received its own area too, further showcasing the attraction. Assuming the ride ran as fast as the original Raptors, Jersey Devil looked to be an airtime machine. But you know what they say if you assume. As testing began, enthusiasts brought up the P word, pacing. While the original Raptors seemed to move through their layouts unnaturally fast, Jersey Devil crawled. The ride valleyed in one of its earliest test runs, and the ride still moves glacially slow in early morning tests without any riders. However, Great Adventure seemed to trade pacing for capacity. The original Raptors had 8-car trains. Jersey Devil has 12-car trains. RMCs are known for tight, aggressive elements, but they needed to elongate their elements to compensate for Jersey Devil's longer train. And these long trains cause each seat to experience each element differently. I'm struggling to think of a ride where each element varies as significantly as it does as Jersey Devil seat to seat. Jersey Devil also features a mid-course brake run that does slow the train down a considerable amount. However, this brake does allow the coaster to operate with a whopping 4 trains. This, combined with the 50% longer trains, gives Jersey Devil a theoretical hourly capacity approaching 1,000 riders per hour, which is a major improvement over the 600 riders per hour that Wonder Woman could handle. And the continuous load platform makes it likely that Jersey Devil will come closer to its theoretical capacity than some of the park's other rides. That being said, I do expect Jersey Devil to have one of the longest lines at Great Adventure, not only in 2021, but going forwards. If you want to avoid a sizable wait, I would advise heading to the attraction first thing. Because it's located in the very back corner of the park, on the site of a former kids area, it should be possible to get a few rides in Jersey Devil before most people make it back there. In its first few days of operation, Jersey Devil has opened late due to some mechanical issues related to the lift chain, but I suspect these issues will be resolved in the long run, but just keep this in mind if you're visiting in the near future. The downside of riding Jersey Devil first thing is that it will be running at its slowest. I noticed it needed at least an hour or two to warm up on my visit. If you ride Jersey Devil first thing, I do recommend coming back later in the day once it is fully warmed up so you can experience it at its fullest potential. Like several of Great Adventure's most extreme attractions, Jersey Devil has a very strict no loose article policy. Security guards and ride operators were aggressively enforcing this rule, asking guests to pat down and sometimes even turn their pockets inside out. If the staff catches you with a loose article, they will kick you out of line. I'm not a fan of the policy because I always have zippered pockets, but I do follow the park's rules. That means you will most likely need to purchase a locker to store your belongings unless you came to the park with nothing but the clothes on your back. Lockers cost $1 for 2 hours, but the biggest issue is actually finding an open locker. Jersey Devil only has a small bank of lockers in its area and they quickly fill up. As a result, the banks of lockers by Congo Rapids and Nitro were overrun as well. For several of my rides, I actually had to purchase a locker over by Skull Mountain to store my items. It was a nuisance, but it was worth it for Jersey Devil. Jersey Devil is a long queue line, and I shudder to think what the ride's wait time would be if it were completely filled. Thankfully, most of the ride's queue is housed under a wooded pavilion, and it is shaded. Only the final stretch on the approach to the station is out in the sun. The queue offers some great views of Jersey Devil, and it features a few signs covering the myth of the Jersey Devil. The Jersey Devil is a mythological creature that is said to inhabit the Pine Barrens of New Jersey. The creature looks like a demonic goat with wings, and that matches the appearance of the former El Diablo statue that was repurposed for this coaster's queue line. The trains feature an intimidating devil head that looks more reminiscent of Darth Maul than the Jersey Devil in concept art, but they look super cool nonetheless. I especially like how the trains are designed such that it looks like the devil is eating the track. At the end of the queue line, an operator will assign you a row. The operators load the train front to back, and on the day I visited, most operators were not taking seat requests. So if you wanted a specific row, you would have to count the amount of people ahead of you and let enough people pass you. From what I saw, the staff had no issue with this as long as you don't slow down their load process. And if you're a single rider, you are in luck. The long-term plan is for Jersey Devil to have a single rider line, and currently, the staff just calls for single riders in the station. And because the back row is the final row to be filled, single riders are almost always going to get this row, and is easily the best seat on the ride for reasons I'll get into. In short, the back had the most extreme airtime. The restraints are similar to the original Raptors. Riders still need to straddle the track because the floor of the trains have a hump on them. It is definitely awkward to sit spread eagle like this on a coaster. Then the ride also has ratcheting over the shoulder restraints. The lap bar component will likely be snug with your thighs, and then you have these stretchy straps over your shoulders. These straps seem to have more give than the original Raptors, and as a result, they were more comfortable. The crew was doing a pretty good job keeping the trains moving, but there was a delay in the dispatch. The trains reached the end of the platform when the train ahead of them navigated the 0G stall. However, the operators seemed like they needed to wait until the train finished the 0G roll to actually dispatch a train. Otherwise, a train may have to stop somewhere on the course. Jersey Devil begins with a relatively quick lift hill, and it's loud. It is similar to the lift hill on Steel Vengeance and Twisted Timbers in terms of noise. The deafening chatter drowns out all other noise in the queue line and area. At the top, you are greeted with a beautiful view of the Jersey Woods and Prospertown Lake, and then you are thrown down the 87-degree first drop. But it sure does feel vertical. In the front, you hang over the drop for a good long while because you have to wait for all the other rows to crest the top of the lift. And then you get some float on the way down. Towards the middle, you get some good ejector airtime, about on par with the back row on the first drop of most RMCs. But the drop is truly special in the back row. This is one of the best drops in the world in that row. The super long trains cause the back row to get violently flung over the drop, and you are yanked down to the ground. You get some insane and sustained ejector airtime. I honestly prefer this drop to El Toro's or the original Raptors. The airtime feels even more extreme. And that airtime is juxtaposed by the strong positive G's in the valley. This valley is extremely compact, and I started to gray out into the ascent of the next element, the dive loop. Like the original Raptors, you don't start to invert until after you reach the apex of the inversion. This causes the front to get a good pop of airtime in the ascent. The middle gets decent floater throughout the entirety of the element, while the back only gets airtime in the descent, but is a very violent pop of ejector airtime. And along with this airtime, everyone is snapped to the side in the descent as you dive 180 degrees back down to the ground. The element is most extreme in the back because the strong laterals are paired with a powerful pop of airtime. In the back, this dive loop feels like the dive loop on the original Raptors. In the other rows, the element feels tamer because it's more drawn out. After another forceful valley, Jersey Devil glides over a giant camelback. This is the most sustained airtime moment on the ride, as the airtime is held for roughly 3 seconds in any row. But the power of the airtime varies by your row. Those up front will get weak ejector airtime. Those in the middle get floater airtime. Those in the back get some powerful ejector airtime. That is followed by the 0G stall. The element has really weak hang time up front, but is significantly better if you're in the back half of the train. Because you are slowly dragged through the element, you completely levitate out of your seat for several seconds. It is probably one of the best elements in the world for sustained hang time. And if you're in the back row, you are aggressively snapped back upright as you're pulled through the end of the element. The pullout has an incredible head chopper with a mid-course brake run, and then you shoot up into a turnaround. The entrance has a diagonal pop of airtime up front. In the other rows, you just get some weak lift. The turnaround is one of the elements that is most impacted by how the ride is running. The turn feels awkwardly slow when the ride isn't warmed up, but when the ride is warm, the turn feels more fluid. The drop off the turnaround has a decent pop of airtime towards the middle, but a stronger ejector pop towards the back. Then comes the third and final inversion, the 0G roll, which feels very similar to the stall on most seats. It rides identically in the front and middle, but in the back, the sustained hang time transforms into inverted airtime as you progress through the element. It's really magical. This ended up being my favorite inversion on the ride. Jersey Devil then shoots up into the mid-course brake run, which gives front row riders a good pop of airtime. I figured this brake wouldn't hit the train very hard, but it does slow the train down considerably. And if one of the 3 trains ahead of you stops for any reason, you will come to a dead stop on the mid-course. I saw this a few times on my visit, but I personally never experienced this on ride. The second half feels considerably tamer than the first half, and it just doesn't have the classic RMC intensity. You just do not take the elements with much speed, and when you stop completely on the mid-course, the train looks like it's about to valley. The drop off the mid-course gives some really weak floater airtime in the middle, and a decent pop of airtime in the back. The train then cruises around an overbanked turn. The element doesn't offer much in terms of positive Gs because it's rather slow. but it does offer a sustained head chopper as you wrap around to support. That is followed by back-to-back off-axis bunny hills. Both have some sweet head choppers with supports, but these are probably the weakest airtime hills that RMC has ever made. The front gets really meek pops of airtime. The middle shockingly gets no airtime, and the back just gets a pinch of floater airtime. The following speed hill is an improvement though, although speed hill may be a misnomer because it's not taken very fast. This tiny hill offers a decent pop of airtime in the front and back, but only weak floater airtime towards the middle of the train. Jersey Devil then lumbers into the brake run, and front row riders will get one last weak pop of airtime, which ends the 3,000 foot or 914 meter long coaster. So how's the pacing? The original Raptors absolutely hauled through the course. It felt like those rides were pulling you through each element and your body was constantly playing catch up. Jersey Devil feels considerably slower, and it seems like you're lingering on each element due to the length of the trains. This is an issue in the front and middle seats because not every element is a home run. But in the back, I thought the pacing was excellent in the first half because every element either offered crazy ejector airtime or oodles of hang time. However, the second half left me wanting more in every row. It reminded me more of the finale in New Texas Giant, where the elements just don't have the same bite and power of the other RMCs. In terms of smoothness, Jersey Devil was about as smooth as a coaster can be. The only potential comfort issue is the aforementioned awkward riding position where you have to straddle the track. Before giving my final score, I want to note that all my rides took place in broad daylight. One of the aspects I'm most looking forward to in a return trip is getting some night rides in Jersey Devil. Because Jersey Devil borders a lake in the woods, there will be very little light along the course at night. That should give this coaster a creepy atmosphere that ties into its theme. So what would I rate Jersey Devil? I would give this coaster an 8 out of 10. My back row rides probably would have warranted a 9 because of how strong the airtime and hang time is in the first half. Some of those elements, particularly the first drop in Inversions, left me in awe how good they were. However, you cannot always guarantee that you will get this seat, and the other rows are a downgrade. While rides in the front and middle are fun, the forces are considerably less extreme and just not on par with the other RMCs. I think Jersey Devil in the very back is almost as good as El Toro, but both El Toro and even Nitro crush it in any other row. Similarly, I think Jersey Devil is about as good as the original Raptors in the back row, but not nearly as good in the other rows. Long story short, thrill seekers should try everything in their power to get the back row. That is the row that has the trademark RMC craziness that enthusiasts crave. So those are my thoughts on the Jersey Devil coaster, the newest ride at Six Flags Great Adventure. Have you ridden this coaster? How do you think it compares to RMC's other creations? I would love to hear your thoughts about Jersey Devil down in the comments. If you enjoyed this review, I'd appreciate it if you gave this video a like, and you considered subscribing, because there'll be a lot more roller coaster and amusement park videos here at Canopy Coaster. Thanks for watching.